for people who are not able to join. I see we have Bradley in the meeting. We also have Cameron in now. Cameron, it looks like you had problems, connectivity problems. Can you hear me at all? Last week it was Bradley, myself, and Cameron. So welcome again. I believe we've got 3. I see Cameron is on the chat. We've got 4 registered students in this module, so it's normally going to be 5 of us. I think people are still maybe finalizing reg and that sort of thing. So Cameron, I see you in the chat. Do you have audio as well? I remember last week you were able to converse and chat with us. Then, yeah, you can just indicate to me in the chat what's the story. If you have a mic, if you have sound. Apologies, connection issues. Yes, we gathered that much. So, audio is good. You can hear me. Can you talk? Do you have a mic, Cameron? You are muted, so obviously you're going to unmute yourself. Oh, no mic. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see it. There's a WhatsApp group that I asked Bradley to set up for you guys. So it's the module WhatsApp group. It's just for you guys, the members of the module. I'm not part of that. It is, however, something nice that we can use to transmit messages. I would maybe say prepare this for a class discussion, or we're doing an ICE task. Please do this or that, or come prepared. So there is something nice to use. There's a glare in my glasses, which is not nice. So I will convey with Bradley, and he will then speak to the rest of you guys. So there's a link here. Thank you, Bradley. You can for doing that for us and facilitating that, and then I will be in contact. So you guys saw that we've scheduled for the next number of weeks on a Wednesday evening. The link is the same. There was a bit of problems with ARC. I hope your ARC is all sorted out and working. Mine is sort of halfway there, not 100% working, but we'll get things working pretty quickly. I am sharing the module outline. Can you guys see it when I'm on this page? Can you guys see the module outline?
Yes.
You can.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to go through this and do a bit of housekeeping. You've got a pretty good idea of what is what. I'm going to go through this quickly and just talk a bit about the expectation. So remember, the big thing, people, is that you are now in the postgraduate space, which is wonderful. It's exciting. It is a good place to be. You are on the other side of the fence, where we are no longer teaching you stuff, imparting sort of content into your mind or your head or your brain, and then testing your retention ability. We're not doing that. There was a minimal amount of application in undergrad. In postgrad, it's all application. It's all about you looking at a problem, looking at some sort of a practical issue. You're giving us your input, but you are leaning on theoretical material. You are leaning on scholarly work to motivate, to support your answer. I will always tell you 3 things: motivate, integrate, substantiate. Motivate, integrate, substantiate. What do I mean by that? When I say as academics, you have a completely different way of approaching things. Your opinion is of no importance. I'm not saying your opinion as a person or as an individual doesn't matter. I'm saying as an academic voice, which you are in this forum, your opinion is not important. Your opinion is not what we are interested in. We are interested in your academic voice. And as an academic, your personal view and personal opinion is not important. What you want to do is to motivate what you are saying In other words, it's not something you just thumbs up. You motivate what you say. You integrate. In other words, you bring theory and practice together. You integrate the two. There's a healthy parallel between business practice and academic literature. And you have to marry those two, if I can use that word. And in marrying that, you will then give us your input, your contribution, putting something forward that is academically sound, academically credible, because you are speaking now as an academic. And then I say substantiate. So substantiate your arguments with scholarly sources, not dodgy ones, good quality sources. Maybe I can quickly say, and I'll take you guys through a whole lecture of showing you academic writing tips, which will help you a lot. I'm going to give you a lot of tips on how to tackle and how to improve your high-level academic discourse skills. Remember, I told you last week there's two skills you need to master. The one is research, the other is writing. So you guys need to get comfortable in an academic research environment, such as the libraries, the online databases. You will have access to databases, academic databases such as JSTOR, Emerald. And while we are on that topic, one of the best places for you to look for good material is academic journals. Why do I say that? Tell me what you think. Why is journals a good place or one of the best places to look for sound references?
Would it not be more of like just a primary source?
A primary source, but why would we look at journals as a very credible and a good source? I'll tell you. In an article, there's normally a lot of info. I mean, if you look at a textbook, it's difficult to navigate and find your way. And articles is condensed. There's a lot of info, and there's always a lot of additional external links in an article. So an article can lead you to the next, which can lead you to the next. So articles is your friend, easier than textbooks. And that does not mean that all articles are credible. I'll take you through an exercise one day where we review articles, and I'll show you that you get journals that are absolutely rubbish and nonsense. So we must also be careful in what type of journal we use. What's the rating of the journal before we just incorporate that in our work. I want you guys to be very careful of online sources. Online sources can put a question mark over your work. Why am I talking so much about research? Because the whole idea of postgrad is for you guys to become researchers. And I want to see you at the end of the semester and at the end of the year telling me, listen, I've grown so much. I've been on a steep growth curve, and my research skills has increased and grown exponentially. I am a scientist. So it is new for you. It's maybe a bit of a mind shift, a paradigm shift, but I see you guys as fellow academics. I'm going to treat you as fellow academics. I'm going to treat you as scientists. I'm going to treat you like peers in the academic space. So your response to that is you need to play the part. You need to put your research hat on, and that's about it. It's not about the content per se. Entrepreneurship is a nice topic. There's a textbook, there's volumes, there's hundreds of textbooks probably on it. So it's not about getting that content into your head. It's about making you a researcher, and the world is your playground. By the way, have you guys bought the actual textbook? Bradley, I'm going to ask you, since you've got audio. There is a prescribed material textbook, as far as I know. Have you been able to get a hold of it?
Yeah, so I bought the ebook version. I didn't buy the
Okay. Okay. So
physical one.
the book is there and it's available now. And the ebook is
Yes.
probably reasonably priced or what?
It's actually the same price.
Same price. How much is it if I may ask?
Yo, I'm not too sure. It might have been just under 1,000 rand, I think.
Okay, thanks, man.
I'll just have to double check that.
Yeah. We had a leadership book a couple of years ago that was almost 3 grand. It's quite a
Jeez.
lot. It was steep, eh?
Sure.
Say 2,500. Okay. So
Sure.
there's a textbook, but guys, the textbook is not the start all and end all of all. You can literally read the textbook in a weekend if you want to.
Hmm.
It is important. So the textbook is there. It is your prescribed material, and I want you guys to incorporate the textbook in your answers. That would be silly to leave the textbook out of the whole picture. So please use the textbook, but that is not where you start and that is not where you end. As far as your research goes, you're going to work much wider. But do include the textbook. You will also be confronted with all the other things like how contemporary is your source. The world changes quickly. So if we say 5 years is a good benchmark for you to say, let's look at sources generally not older than 5 years, because the landscape changes overnight. Look how much the world has changed literally from COVID to now. So if you see sources that dates back to 2000 and the early 2010s, don't use them. If there's something you really want to use and you want to use that material, look for a source that says the same thing, which is more recent. What I was about to say also about online sources, guys, is be careful. It's gonna compromise your credibility if you overdo online sources. Online sources puts a bit of a question mark on the quality of your referencing, as far as I'm concerned. So good academic sources, scholarly sources, and again, there your journal articles is pretty much the best for you. So balance your sources. Yes, you can use textbooks by all means. You can use online sources where it's applicable and where they are sort of credible, but don't overdo that. Balance that and give us proper academic references. What I typically do, and maybe I did tell you this, I want to reiterate it, and also for those recording, listen to the recording. I'm going to be very strict in terms of your marking your work. I'm going to be very strict in terms of my academic, um, the expectation in terms of academic rigor. Academic rigor or academic quality is what I'm looking for. So the first thing I probably do when I open your assignment is to go to your table of contents. Are you giving me an assignment with a nice cover page? The cover page tells me what this is about. Are you giving me a nice detailed table of contents? By the way, that's what it's called. It's called a table of contents where there's headings, there's subheadings, there's page numbers that are corresponding. In other words, if you say section 2.1, the transformation of marketing practices is on page 2, but in fact it's on page 7, I'm going to penalize you. Then I go to your reference list. And again, that's what it's called, guys. It's called a reference list. Nothing else. Not a bibliography, reference list. And I look at your reference list. If I see, let's call it sloppiness in your ref list, if I see sloppiness in your cover page, your TOC, then I don't have much hope reading the rest of your paper. Yes, it is subjective, but there's something that shows me there's a student that demonstrates excellence. And if I see excellence in the TOC, well laid out, well structured, sensibly titled. I see a reference list where I cannot find one single error. It puts your work in a different perspective from where I'm standing. You guys are aware, if you have a look at the rubric, and we look at an example rubric now, that we have penalties for referencing style. Referencing style errors, and we'll get to that now. I'm going to use it. I'm going to penalize you. I'm going to be strict. And you're going to kick yourself if you lose marks there. Most students will do it once or twice. And hopefully that would be the last. And you will see and realize the importance of sticking to or aligning to the IIE Reference Guide 2025 Harvard Method. Yes, it's one of the 100 Harvard methods adapted for our institution. And it should be available in the library, guys. If you don't have a copy of that yet, that is what I want you to follow to the letter. When it comes to referencing style, I'm talking referencing style in text as well as your reference list at the end of the you are more than welcome to chat. You're more than welcome to raise a hand. You're more than welcome to just open your mic and talk. The sessions are not formal. They're not too much structured. Let's keep it nice, light, and informal. You guys are welcome to jump in at any time. All right, there is a hand. Brad.
So, Doctor, I just want to find out. So, these sources that you're talking about, do you think we should just go through the library on the student portal? Or can we use other?
No, absolutely. I mean, you obviously have, maybe, do you still have access to TIC's library? I don't know.
I think I
So
do, yeah.
wherever you find good, credible sources, Brad, that's what important to me. So
Okay.
you guys are distant students. You're probably not going to find yourself going to a physical library, so it will be online. And then of course the trick is sometimes to find your way inside that library, and then to learn how to use keywords good to find what you're looking for. You know, sometimes students will tell me, I'm looking for something, but I can't find anything on this topic. And then I would say, listen, I doubt that, because there's a lot written about every single thing you can literally think of. You know, everything under the sun has been researched. Are you looking correctly? Are you using the correct engines or keywords? Also remember, guys, that there are people in the library waiting to assist. In fact, there are also people and library staff who would sometimes assist you in finding specific material. Keep that in mind. I've seen that before, and I've heard the offer before, where they said, you're looking for something on a specific topic, give us that topic and we will actually help you to look for specific articles. So please press on that button. These people are there for us. They want to absolutely assist and help us. There's a question here about Harvard and Anglia specific. It is, so it was specifically an institutional document that they did for us. They also included the declaration of AI in that referencing guide, so it's annually updated. So you will literally sit exactly with that. What I want you guys to use and not deviate from that in any way is the IIE Reference Guide 2025, which is the newest, latest updated. Yes, correct. And you stick to that. Remember, if your work goes to an external for examination, the external gets a copy of our institutional referencing style document, which means that is what they will also use to mark your work as an institutional submission. And they will penalize you accordingly if your work does not align with our institutional guidelines. So referencing important, guys. Referencing is the holy grail of research, and I'm not talking about plagiarism here. maybe I must gooi that in quickly. So plagiarism can bring your academic career to a halt. It can bring it to a complete halt. Depending on the level of plagiarism, it might also bring your career to a halt, not only within the IIE brands, but at other institutions as well. In other words, it can cling on and stick with you like some sort of a criminal record. So just run away from plagiarism. Plagiarism is the worst thing that you can do as an academic. AI, we're moving to Turnitin. So Turnitin has an AI detector. AI, maybe we've discussed this last week briefly, but again, AI to help you think, to help you shape your thoughts, to help you get ideas. Yes. To maybe do some language work for you or grammar work for you. Yes. Must be declared. There's guidelines in the reference guide on how you should declare it. But when AI creates content and does the work that you are supposed to do, again, you are in trouble. You're gonna get big trouble. So AI is a slippery slope, guys. Don't let AI get you into hot water. Please, 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 please. And I think intuitively we know when we are using AI or trying to use AI to do something that is not permitted. When the work that you're supposed to do, you're supposed to wrestle, you're supposed to sit and work days and nights on this assignment or this research project, AI should not come in that place and do that work for you. Then you're gonna end up having big problems. That's of course the truth. All right. Then let's look at the model outline quickly. And then of course, guys, when you submit, please give me a readable paper. Stick to what I tell you in terms of the brief when it comes to font sizes and line spacing. Have you ever seen how difficult it is to read a document that's cluttered? So give me enough white space. Give me a paper or a submission that's written with good headings and subheadings. When we do academic writing, it's nothing else than presenting one idea, followed by a different idea, followed by the next idea. We link those ideas. There's a narrative. We use paragraphs to deal with sections. We use headings. So we tell a story, and the whole paper must be readable in terms of it must flow logically, it must make sense. Be mindful of grammar and tenses. Remember, folks, we are in South Africa, so we use South African grammar and spell checker. I know Microsoft Word is full of stories. It can sometimes you find yourself in South African English, and the next moment everything is back to USA again or something. So remember, when you see the Z's and you see the funny spellings like behavior or honor, or behavior, go and check and make sure your whole submission is in South African English. Of course, what we don't want you to do is don't work on your references. So obviously, reference titles and that sort of thing, book titles or article titles, that's from an American source. Please don't go and change those to South African English. Those are titles that are published like that. So don't do that. But your whole document, the stuff that you type up yourself, please, South African language and grammar. All right. Remember, guys, your submission is what I have to evaluate your work. That's all. You cannot tell me, listen, let's go and have a cup of coffee. I want to tell you some more. I want to add more. I want to add on to my submission. Can't do that. You've got one chance. You've got a keyboard or a pen in your hand, and you give me what's in your head, and I assess that using the rubric. So the skill of transmitting or transforming or conveying what you want to through your keyboard. That's important. But then also in a way that's readable, that's elegant, that's logical, that flows, and that addresses the issue. So, and that's a skill. It's difficult. Academic writing is difficult, but you will see how you grow. I promise you that. I guarantee you that in your personal journey. All right, module outline. Let's just have a quick overview here about the module outline. Entrepreneurship. You guys say you have access to this. Now, I see loading. There's something funny here. The I want to get to no, there's something funny. There's something funny here. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Module outline. That one isn't loading. Let's see if I can do something else. Okay, this is better. Yes, you can still see my share, right? Okay. All right, they say it's a distance module. All right, there's Nivenaisen and Niemann, your book. It's a 2023 book, which is nice, which means it's an updated version. And then there's something I want to bring to your attention, please, which will illustrate the point I am making, which is the following. Outside your prescribed material, there's a lot of suggested works that we're giving you. This means, and this should get your attention to the fact that you absolutely have to go beyond what you see in the textbook. The textbook is not going to answer everything that you need to answer in this module. Look at the sources here. There's 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 4 page, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Guys, I just showed you 14 pages of additional sources that were hand selected for you guys. Now, if I say that's a lot of reading, yes, I mean to consult all these sources will take you days and nights. But can you see what I'm saying is please go outside, go beyond the book. This is suggestions. There are hundreds more. But I want the penny to drop to say a researcher is someone who goes wide, that consults sources. And I want you guys to really do that and really to go and look for stuff in places. This is now examples, all journals, eh? When you see these numerals at the end, it's journal volumes, numbers, volumes, and page numbers. So there's a lot of that. All right. So guys, a lot of outside reading, a lot of outside research. You're not going to find your answers in a narrow focus. You're going to work wide in order to get to your answers. Important. Okay. What's going on here? All right. Then the module weighting. Let's just quickly look at that. So assignment 1 is an individual assignment. Assignment 2 would be a group assignment plus a presentation. So if there's 4 of you, that's fine. Normally our groups are between 3 and 5. So 4 people would be just fine. There's a soft copy submission plus a presentation component. We'll talk about that when we get closer. What we will do is we will facilitate in ARC you guys presenting. All members of the group must present. And you will be then also awarded a mark for your presentation skills. And then there's an exam which carries the bulk of the weight, 35%. And then, of course, ICE is still here. Just quickly, my take on ICE. For those of you that are familiar with ICE at the IIE brands, ICE is 10% of your total aggregate. ICE is not something I want to use to penalize students. My wish is that students all get their full ICE mark. The ICE mark can take you a band higher. You're sitting at a 67 and ICE can take you to a 70 or that sort of situation. So please don't lose out on ICE. I don't want anyone to miss out on that 10% that you can get for ICE. So they every year they say, oh, we're going to keep ICE or leave it. It is still with us. So for now, I think it's marks for jam, if I can use that expression, to get your 10% ICE. All right, and then there's those assignment 1, individual assignment 2 group, and then the examination. We'll talk more about these when we get there. We'll do a bit of a brief before we go into the exams. There's a bit of a module outline. Now, guys, I'm not going to kill you with this content at all. I'm not going to do a linear PowerPoint slide, death by PowerPoint sessions on repeating what's in the textbook. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to kill you with slideshows and content. I'm going to try and make the class exciting, interesting. I'm going to ask you guys to engage. I'm going to ask you to prepare. Sorry, I'm scrolling fast. Hold on to your seats. I'm going to ask you to bring your input, and I'm going to facilitate the sessions to make it interesting for you and engaging. I want to, in that process, also tell you that we'll discuss stuff that's extracurricular. We live in a world where everything is connected. We live in a transdisciplinary world, a multidisciplinary world. So we're going to try and make it interesting, but in those discussions, we're going to cover the underlying theoretical content in any ways. In other words, we're going to dive into the theory, but we're not going to dive into the theory by looking at topical sessions dealing with blocks of theory in a sort of linear fashion. I always try to make my classes interesting and engaging, especially because you guys are doing it after hours. You don't want to sit here and just listen to me pumping stuff into your head. All right. Then the assignment 1, just so that we have a quick look of what's the sort of thing we're going to expect from this. I'll touch again on this before the submission, and I will use your assignment also to provide feedback and tell you after you submit, this is something I see that you can improve on. Be mindful of this. So I will give you guys feedback. We might do it in here as well, and do a bit of individual feedback, and I'll tell you what I think you can look at in your academic writing. Just a quick check. Can you still hear me well? Everything's still on track.
Yes, doctor.
Right.
Doctor, I just have one question.
Yes.
For the additional readings on that module outline, quite a few of them were over 5 years old.
I see.
Would that be an issue?
Well, in principle, it would, unless you can bring them in with some good motivation on why you use it. Look, there are seminal sources, eh? There are groundbreaking works. When was the Maslow theory? When was Maslow? I'm gonna say, when was the Maslow theory? When was the Maslow theory generated by Maslow? Let's look, in 1943. So 1943 is a long time ago. It's 80 years ago. But some scholars will still say Maslow is as relevant today as it was in 1943. So there's a seminal aspect to that. So when you look at literature, you're gonna encounter groundbreaking studies. You're gonna encounter semi-seminal or seminal sources that that made such played a role in shaping the discipline. So there's room for that and there's merit for that, guys. But just using some source from 2009 saying something, that's going to be a problem. So obviously, I didn't compile that list. I believe the list is credible and it's good, but be careful. Don't just use something because it's there. If there's really something you want to use, maybe look for a more recent source that says the same thing.
Okay.
I haven't seen the pairs. Has any of you guys seen the pairs? In other words, the submission dates. I made a note here. I haven't seen it. Have you seen it? The
Uh,
pairs for the module. The
about a
program.
week ago, I tried to find it,
Yeah, yeah.
but there was nothing underneath the folder in the SharePoint.
Okay, so Cameron says there is one, but it's only for assignments. So was
Oh,
the
okay.
exam date not on pairs? I see. Okay, so that was TBC. That's not a problem. So they will confirm that date. But if you do have by the way, can you remember what's your assignment one submission date? I haven't seen pairs. It's not been made available to me. Cameron, if you can look for us, please. Submission date for assignment one on pairs. Pairs stands for um I just had it now. Program assessment schedule or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Please look for me. What's the submission date for assignment one? All right, let's go back to assignment one quickly. I'm sharing and I think you guys can still see it. So this is the actual assignment one that I saw in the portal. And the way you would tackle this. Now, just before we go down, I'm coming here to this rubric. Very important. Guys, I know we prepared for something. We might move it on. I want to go through this and set the scene before we get into the thick of things. There's a penalty allowance for me to deduct 5% or 10. And that's for referencing style. What I'm saying is we're not talking plagiarism. Plagiarism means I'm gonna stop marking your work. I put my pen down, virtual pen as it were. I stop marking your work and I refer you to the people that deal with plagiarism. So these penalties is not about plagiarism. It is purely about referencing style. And you'll see there's a 5% and a 10%. So referencing style errors. Now here's the scary thing, and you'll be surprised to know that we look at everything. In your reference list, I'm going to look at every bracket, every full stop, every italics, every comma, everything in that. And if you make one mistake, if you leave out one full stop, I'm going to subtract 5%. If you make a grave mistake, like using an et al. Incorrectly, you know how to use it correctly, I hope. The correct way is to first give acknowledgement to all authors in the first instance, and then you can use et al. So if you misuse et al, for instance, I'm going to take off 10%. Listen, guys, 10% of your final mark. If you use an et al in a reference list, I'm going to take off 10%. So I'm going to be very strict on this. And you will say, listen, man, how did I miss it? I want to kick myself for making that mistake. That's how it is, guys. Um, referencing style errors, not tolerated. I'm going to use it. I'm going to be strict on deducting either 5 or 10% from your overall percentage. So please don't step into that trap. Um, if you want to use referencing software or you want to use, I don't know if Microsoft Word as a plugin for that, and now you see that your references are not in accordance with the institution guidelines, then you've got a problem because now it means you're going to have to manually fix them. So I would be hesitant to somehow use those software thingies. I would rather just do it manually and type out the references because it's double work for you to make references and then you have to fix them. It's up to you. I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying every reference will be checked and every reference should comply. You cannot use a format you like, or you cannot stick to a format that your software or your referencing tool generates, and now it's not as in our referencing guide. Very, very important. And you don't have to use so many references. Maybe in an assignment you use 10 or 15. So that's few enough to actually do manually and make sure that you do comply to the IIE guide. Very important, guys. So, okay. Referencing errors, referencing style, the 5 and the 10%. All right. Then we have your instructions. So there's word count limits. Can I quickly say something about word counts? Because it's a question that comes up where we can also penalize you in terms of word count exceeding word counts. So here's the question. Will I penalize you if you go over? And I must tell you this, just look now. When there's a big class, I mean, when there's a class of 20 or 30 or 50 students, there's a 5,000 word assignment and every student writes 8,000 words. What's the mark load on the lecturer? You hear what I'm saying? So that's the one reason. The other reason is, as an academic, you have to learn how to write word economically. You have to learn to say something in as few words as is possible. That's elegant. It's economic. That's how it works. So it is a skill you have to master. Now, here's my answer. I'm not going to kill you if you go slightly over, especially if you give me quality. If you give me good work, you should go over the word count slightly. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to penalize you. I cannot speak for other lecturers. I cannot say what they will do. And remember, what if your work goes to an external, or your final research report goes to an external, and your supervisor maybe told you, listen, you can go over the word count all you like. And when you go to an external for marking, this person says, listen, he or she is going to be strict on word count, and you get penalized. So I think the good sort of strategy is to try and stick within your word count limits. The problem is normally not to reach the limit. The problem is normally not to go over. If you've got a 3,000 word assignment, guys, and you give me 1,000 word answer, you're going to lose marks, because I must give marks. I must pull out marks for you. So you must give me substance. You must give me something to work with in order to generate those marks for you. So yes, don't write too cryptic. When there's an exam, I don't know what your exam is going to look like exactly, but say there's an exam of 60 marks or 100 marks, that means you're going to write a lot. You're not going to write me a page or 2 pages. You're going to literally write pages and pages and pages in order for me to get to that place where I can evaluate and award marks for you to the level of that sort of scores. All right. So when you do your assignment, please look at what is asked. Please make sure that you give them everything. There's a nice breakup of your deliverables. References may not be older than 5 years unless they are seminal sources. So we're touching on that again. Then a minimum of 8 credible academic sources. Your prescribed textbook does not count, so it's your prescribed textbook plus at least 8. And guys, nothing stops you from using more than that. If you want to have goodwill in the bank with me, then please use more than 8 in your assignment. All right, we're sitting on assignment 1. Sorry, Cameron, have you found out what the submission date is? Please look for us. If you can, if you have access to PAS, or even you, Bradley. Okay. Then they're asking you something. They're giving you a lot of detail and a lot of information. And then they're going to ask you something. Make sure that everything that is asked is addressed. That's important. Say they give you these areas to address, but you only discuss 2 of them or 3 of them. I often see that happen. Normally there's bullets there, and they will ask you to do a critical evaluation. They will ask you to make a comparison, and they will ask you to do recommendations, for example. And then I see students leaving out the last bit. They're not doing that final bit. Everything they ask you here must be addressed. Don't lose marks unnecessarily because you do not answer everything that is asked. All right, let's look at the rubrics. So what we'll see now, this thing is hanging again. Oh man, such a irritating. I'm going to open it again. I don't know why, but SharePoint is, but like, okay. I'm going down. I want to get to the rubric. And of course, the nice thing in the rubric is that we are not sitting with answers that must be specifically so you can go in any direction. Guys, I'm opening the gate wide for you. Yeah, please look at the detail they give you in the rubric blocks. Your mark will fall in those blocks. And what we're looking for is the quality of arguments that you formulate. There's not a right or a wrong answer. I'm essentially evaluating the quality of input you give me based on the case study, based on the problem you were given, based on how you integrate theory. And then you will see there's a portion of the mark given to the structure. How is your paper uh, constructed? How does the paper flow in terms of headings, subheadings? How's your language? That sort of thing. So in this rubric, it's all about the quality of your writing. I want to tell you something very important. There's no way, thank you very much for this. There's no right and wrongs. Maybe I did share this. If not, I'm going to share it again for the sake of those listening to the recording. I give a case study. I say, company ABC have an opportunity to expand abroad to the EU. I want your input. Must I do it or not? One student says, John says, they should expand. It's a moving target. The window is going to pass. If they don't jump at this opportunity now, they might not get an opportunity to move to the abroad again. So they must put an office down there now. And there's a whole motivation and supporting of that argument. Another student takes exactly the same situation and says they should not expand abroad now. The reason for that is that they do not have internal capacity to do that. They're going to collapse. They're going to strain their resources. Yes, it is an opportunity, but it will do more harm than good. If they decide to do that now, best would be to grow the company, to build capacity, and when the time is right, look for a suitable opportunity to expand. Guys, can I mark any of those answers wrong? I can't. Are any of those answers wrong? No. I'm looking for someone that puts forward an argument, that puts forward a suggestion, but it's motivated, it's rational, it's earthed in logic, it's backed up by academic sources. So these students completely inversed their arguments. You can't say the one is right, the one is wrong. It's depending on the quality of what did you write. Very important to understand. Guys, I'm opening the gate very wide for you. The gate is open. You can literally say what you want as long as you can motivate it, which is nice. You're in a good space in that regard. Sorry, just a sip of water. Okay. So the assessment will look at the detail. You've got a lot of clues here in the blocks of what the expectation is, and then we will assign you a mark, award you a mark using that rubric based on the quality of arguments you were able to formulate and put forward. And that's really all it is about, hey? It's about putting forward sensible arguments, sound arguments that are academically credible. Never, ever compromise your academic credibility by oversimplifying. I just want to see if I can open this. By oversimplifying. Okay, let's leave it for now. Issues. We know we live in a complex world. We know those problems are complicated. We know it's not easy to resolve them. What we are doing is we're putting forward some effort. So I'm not saying we cannot solve anything. We must sit back. But please don't oversimplify stuff. And you never, ever, ever have to create the impression that you've got all the answers and you know exactly what to do. That's, in fact, going to compromise your credibility as a scientist, because that's not how reality works. Reality says we try, we aim to improve, we discover more, we get better understanding, and so on and so forth. So we want to better our situation by investigating, by doing research, and by getting to know more. So the moment you almost in a bulldozing fashion just try and solve problems left, right, and center, and you think this is the answer, don't do that. Be careful. So here's the thing. How would a researcher tackle something? This topic of this evening, we'll move it on to next week. I ask you KPIs in a company. Is it good or bad? It's a stupid question. That's not a question that a researcher will tackle like that. A researcher will say KPIs in organizations, key performance areas, performance appraisals. Doing research on that, you will discover a lot of things that inform that. You will see there's different sides to the coin. You will see and you will write up. There are positive things associated with KPIs, which is A, B, C, and D, and so on. And you will write and you will explain all about that. And then you will say, but on the other hand, there are also negative perceptions associated with KPIs for these reasons. Can you see what I'm saying? As a scientist, you are giving me a balanced view on the situation. You are informing me about all the things that is important there, because things are complicated. We don't have stuff in this life that are completely one-sided. And we should be very careful. 1st of March, 29 April. Fantastic. So 28 March, eh? There's always two sides to the coin, guys. And a good researcher will not look at something sort of one-sided or blind-sided. A good researcher will incorporate all the aspects that informs that topic and include that in their research. And that's the way I want you guys. Can you hear me talking a very scientific thing here? This is not the braaivleis fear where we talk about the box, and or if rugby is not your thing, the soccer team that you support, and we give opinions, or we talk about Eskom and corruption, or we talk about government, where we vent and we give opinions. No. In an academic setting, there's not opinions, there's properly research that we do, and we use that to formulate our arguments. Okay, I see we're almost out of time. Thank you for that. So how would you tackle the question whether entrepreneurship could be the answer to South Africa? You would base it on research. You would base it on facts. You would base it on historical picture and historical research. and giving me then a well-informed answer. Guys, what we need more in this country and more in the world, I told you last week, is people that can put forward an educated contribution, not opinions. Remember, we said there's lots of people with lots of opinions about lots of stuff they don't know a lot about. And in your own life, you've seen how many people are there to give you free advice about your life and your situation, free of charge. So let's become people that do good research, that do our homework before we speak, that do our homework before we write, that know what we are talking about. So I'm going to move on the entrepreneurship question to next week. And obviously now you guys know you're going to do some research, some good research before we tackle that next week and delve into that question. I'll be in touch. The link for the WhatsApp group, thank you, is up here. I'm sure you will see it as a live link in the recording still. I hope that we can have all 4 of you in the next session. Hopefully registration and teething problems are sorted out. If you can, please make, if it's possible, please try and connect with full audio. In other words, Mike, I want to see you. I want to hear your voice. Yes, we can also put cameras on next week and just see each other, look at each other in the eye and put a face to a voice. But guys, a mic, and we would like to hear and get your contribution. Thank you very much. I like the energy in the group so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest. I have to come in for a landing now. I'm going to stop the recording. Take care, and I'll be in touch, guys, as to how we take things further. We've got our eyes set on that first submission date, and there's still a lot to happen before that. If there's no questions, I'm going to adjourn the meeting and wish you well, and ask you to take care until next week.
Cool. Thanks, Doctor.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.